Hey, you guys, this is your host, Dee Dee of Courageous Talk, and we have here none other than my special guest, Joe-Gabriel Rodriguez. Welcome, Joe-Gabriel, to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, indeed. We want to tell y'all to be expecting the unexpected by hearing this man of God mighty testimony of what he has been through. And once again, thank you, Joe-Gabriel, for joining us here. I just want to find out some things about your life. I heard so many great things about you, but I've never heard your testimony, and I do know that it's powerful as we have heard. But how have you been? First of all, I want to know how you've been.
I've been good. New thing in my life. I just recently had a baby. Me and my wife had a baby. Her name is Novely Ruth Rodriguez, and it's awesome being a father.
Yes.
First time father,
Yes.
and I'm enjoying it so much.
He's gonna be a great dad.
Yeah. So it's awesome. It's definitely there's never a dull moment in the house anymore.
Amen.
Yeah, she keeps us on the tip of her toes, especially only being a month and a half. So it's awesome.
You know, but I always tell people that for the most part, when these babies come in, they come in new and improved. I'll tell you, they're not like we used to be back in the day, but they're coming in new and improved. But we know that God is blessing, and for you guys to be blessed with a beautiful gift such as a child, we know that children are a gift from God. But getting to the testimony, I want to dig in real quickly and ask you, can you tell us about how did Joe-Gabriel grow up?
Yeah, definitely. So I was born in Corpus. Me and my mom were by ourselves after my mom divorced my father up until I think I was 4 when I started getting back into my dad's life again. We moved from Corpus when I was 1. So from that point on, we were here in San Antonio. So I was just born in Corpus. I only lived there just for a little while.
Okay.
Yeah, still have some family out there, but most of them already have kind of dispersed. Growing up with my mom, she did her best as a single mom to provide for us, provide for me. It was tough. She had to work either 2 or 3 jobs usually, and she was a waitress. Very good looking woman, so she did not have a problem finding a man whenever that time came. But with that came hurt with those men, or whatever it is that baggage came with them fell on us. So that's when I was first exposed to my first, it's called an inciting incident, something that happened in my life that was traumatic, that kind of left me scarred. At the age of 6, she had a boyfriend that was physically abusive to me. I was not the best kid growing up. I was very stubborn, hard-headed, and it took a lot to settle me down, hyperactive, all over the place. So in school, I had a bad habit of not paying attention, always distracting, being the loudest, be known wherever I was, and it wasn't good. Coming home with bad reports every time I did, which was pretty much every day, he would hit me. My escape was just going outside, riding my scooter at that time. At that point, I mean, there's really nothing I could have done as a child. I expressed myself to my mom, but in the situation we were in, she made the decision to stay with him for a little while until it got worse, and of course, she finally left him. From that point on, I was really back into my dad's life here and there, visiting him on the weekends, holidays off and on. Every other year we'd alternate. Love my dad, he was an awesome guy, and he's still in my life at this time. But around about 6 years old, we met my stepfather. He's the one that came into our life, and he still is today. Awesome guy, he definitely helped us along our way, kind of get on our feet, and just start a normal life. Not my mom didn't have to struggle no more, and that a lot of that. But as far as me, at that age, I was exposed to sexual abuse through my stepfather. My mom didn't know right away. It took a little bit for her to finally find out. But that was one of the second incidents in my life that kind of left me scarred. By that time, I had already got an addiction to stealing, which was something that I don't know why. I just found it thrilling for me. So it was exciting for me to do this. No one really knew. It was just my little secret. But after this started happening in my life, which was the sexual abuse, I kind of used it as a means of just as a high, just to escape, And so from that point on, it happened till I was about 13 years old. I mean, I'm not going to go into detail of the graphics, but it was not good. It was not good. I look back and I asked God, where were you in that situation, and for many years. And finally he showed himself, where he was, at that time with me. And he also was hurting right there with me. So that was that part of my life. It was definitely something that I did not expect that I would be going through at that age. When my mom finally did find out what was going on, she got a hold of the authorities, talked to his family. The family knew that this was something that he had done in the past. They did not tell her. But he said he was going to get help. So we went from there. He stayed in our lives. Heavily supervised at that point. We were no longer able to be alone. But in the business that he was in, he had a lot of jobs out of town, and I was always helping him. So some way or another, he'd find a way for me to go with him. This happened till about the age of 13, until I finally put a stop to it. I got brave and just told him that, that was enough was enough. I'm done with this. I can't have this in my life no more. And yeah, that was the end of that.
Wow.
That was the end part of that part of my life. But it did its damage. It did its damage over the years. Around 13, when it finally stopped, I started smoking marijuana. That was my gateway drug. Had a friend at school that I would get high with every morning. It just became another thing that I like to do, to have fun with, along with my stealing, I never stole from people. I was more of a go to the store and just get what I wanted kind of guy, packs of cards or candy or whatever it was, little small stuff here or there. Well, at 13, I also had experienced an illness, which I had a physical, cervical spinal brain tumor. It was a tumor that was growing.
I didn't understand that.
It was it was a tumor that was growing on top of my brainstem, in between my spinal cord and the brainstem, so it was wedged in between. So when that started happening, I started losing certain things in my body that were like kind of deteriorating, which was my memory and my focus in school was not really that good no more. So they were like, well, let's give him some tests. Maybe he's dyslexic. Let's see, because even when I was reading, words were kind of like not coming right, numbers and stuff like that. So they did diagnose me with dyslexia. Some more time went on and I started experiencing some neck pains. And I think it was about 6 months that I'd wake up every morning with these neck pains. Didn't really know what it was. My mom thought, well, maybe you're just sleeping wrong. So I take, Advil, Motrin, whatever it was to help, and I'd be good for the rest of the day. It was just every morning. Every morning I woke up, I started having these really bad neck pains. And so finally it got to where I started losing sensation, and I started on my right side a little bit, and my throat started closing up on me. And that was something that progressed very fast. From one moment to the next, my throat was where I couldn't even drink water. Sensation on my right side was getting even worse. Finally got a hold of the doctor, and he's like, you know what, just take him to the emergency. Like, we got to find out what's going on with him. So we get to the emergency. A nurse comes in, she does all her vitals, asks what's going on. I've been telling her like about the dyslexia part and the numbness and the throat and all these other things. Okay. We have some doctors here we're gonna talk to and get their opinion. So those doctors, which was Dr. Marlin and Dr. Gasco, they are two of the top neurosurgeons for children. That's what they specialize in. They just happen to be at that hospital that day. That's the hospital they work out of, but they're just not always there. Well, they happen to be there. So information got to them. The female came in, which was Dr. Gaskell, and she, same thing, ran through the whole, how you feeling, how long has this been going on, and gave her the whole spiel, and she goes, okay, well, I'm going to talk to my partner, Dr. Marlin, and we're going to see what we can come up with here. So they left. Not too long after that, they came in and laid it out to us. We think you have a brain tumor. I'm like, what?
Wow.
I'm 13 years old. I'm like one, I really don't understand the extent of it, but I kind of know what it is. And it's like thinking brain, like, wow, like, no, that can't be. There has to be something else. So like, we just want to make sure we're going to schedule an MRI. Sure enough, MRI, there it is, bright as day. Big old football-sized tumor right there, wedged in the back of my head. And the pressure of what it was putting on was what was affecting my head, the focusing, my throat, the numbness, all those things that were going on. Emergency surgery. We got to get it out of there right away. Sure enough, so following, I think it was in the morning time, because it was the night when we went, morning time, they scheduled the surgery. Surgery was about, from what I remember, 9 hours, something like that. Went through the surgery and I came out. Finally woke up in the hospital bed and I can't move. So, and me, I'm thinking, okay, it's just medication. Like, let it wear off. So I'm trying to be cool. People in my room, like, everybody wanted to see how I was doing, you know. I finally came out. They finally let people in. And it's just like, well, time's going on and I still can't move. Like, what's going on here? So I start getting, like, I start frustrated. Like, what's going on here? Like, I need answers. Like, well, you know, like, no. And I just got upset. You know, wasn't ready for that kind of information.
Wow.
You know, so ran everybody out the room. Story behind this is a God moment for me and my stepmom. When my stepmother came into my father's life, I didn't like her. I mean, not that I didn't want another woman in my father's life. I just wanted my dad. I wanted my dad, you know, that was it. So someone else coming and taking attention away from him was like, hey, that's some attention away from me. So we didn't have the best relationship. She tried her hardest to show her love to me. I just never was receiving of it. And this was from what she told me. She used to take care of me at the age of 4. And I don't remember from 4 to 6, I don't remember being in my dad's life until 6. So those are memories that I really don't remember. I have memories of me being with my dad, but I don't know if that was the age or if it just how that happened. But so coming back to the surgery story, I run everybody out the room. My mom, my stepdad, my dad, everybody, my grandma, my aunts. The one person I wanted was my stepmom. Of all people, the one person I could not stand.
Wow.
But that was where I kind of, I understood that love. I guess it was just God showing me like this woman loves you and she's willing to be here for you, which was an awesome thing because she has also been someone in my life that I've been able to pour into and just be honest about things that were going on with me that she was able to hear and understand and relate to because of her past and the rough upbringing she had. It was hard for me to share things with my mom versus her because my mom didn't go through a lot of the stuff that I was going through or didn't have a knowledge of how to deal with that time frame of what I was in. She could though. So from that point on, our relationship grew. And she's an awesome woman. My stepmom is amazing. Both my mom and my stepmom have amazing relationship. My dad and my stepdad, you know, I'm blessed that I have both sets of parents that are cordial with each other. They can come hang out and don't have to worry about any kind of bickering or I do this better than you or any of that. It's just love. And I know that's God. That was God in that bringing that family together like that to be able to help me, you know, along my way of growth, you know, just to know that I have parents that care and not separate parents that care, you know.
Wow.
So with that, coming out of my surgery, like I said, I couldn't move. Doctors finally came in, laid it out to me, helped me understand, well, this is the process you're going to have to go through now. So I did have a partial paralysis from the neck down. I had to learn how. I was like a born baby all over again, but I had my memory, I had my eyesight, I could talk, I could smell, I could hear. Everything was functioning from this part except for muscles from this part down. So I had to learn how to hold my head up again. I had to learn to use my hands again, hold my arms up, walk, everything. It was like it was like a whole restart in life. took about 6 months with
Wow.
rehab. I was a couple months in a hospital, and the rest of the time I spent at Warm Springs Rehabilitation Center.
Wow.
Along that whole process, amazing nurses, amazing doctors, amazing physical occupational therapists. I mean, God just poured into me. And
Wow.
you know, my mom had always told me growing up, "You're gonna be someone. You're gonna be someone." You know, at that point, I didn't have God in my life. I knew who God was. I knew who Jesus was. I just hadn't received Him or none of that. It was just I just knew of Him. Um,
When do you remember receiving him?
that was later on in life. That was back in 2011. That was coming when we get up into the point of where my life kind of turned with more drug use and all that kind of stuff. Is when I finally gave my life to Christ. But that process of the recuperation, getting back on my feet, it was tough. It was a lot of work, a lot of pain, and it showed me a lot about myself of what I'm capable of going through and how resilient my body is. And with that, my mom too, she saw my resiliency as a child, 13 years old, and all I wanted to do was just get out of there and play football. I wanted to join the Navy. My goal was to play with the Cowboys and join the Navy like my dad. You know, that's what I wanted to do: play professional football and be in the military. And the doctor's like, sorry, it's not an option anymore. I'm like,
Wow.
well, what can I do? You know, it's like, well, you can play golf and play tennis. Like, well, who does that? You
Right.
know, like
Right.
that's no fun.
Right.
So
Right.
that was adjusting my life now to that news of what I had to do to continue growing. Because right before the surgery, I was breakdancing, not playing any sports competitively, but I love playing sports, basketball, football, baseball, whatever it was. I loved doing it, and I was pretty decent too at it. But God had other plans. God had other plans in my life. Not at one point do I remember ever feeling sorry for myself, ever feeling like I wasn't going to be able to do the next thing that I was doing. It was always like, okay, I got this done. Let's do the next. You know, because every time I saw more progress, I knew that I was able to do the next thing. So it was just that my life was just that
Wow.
continue growing,
Wow.
working with my body. I have nerve damage through my body because of where the tumor was. In that part of your body, there's so many nerves that just cannot be repaired back together.
Right.
They're very, 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 very small nerves.
Oh wow.
A lot of that has to be repaired on its own. Just there's certain fruits you can eat, certain things you can do, which I didn't do a lot of, but I do have lack of sensation from my left side, and I do have full sensation on my right, but from being right side dominant, I am still right side dominant, but now I'm right side. My left side is stronger now than my right. So I've now compensated a lot because of the weakness in my right. It's gone to my left, which in turn has kind of blessed me with being ambidextrous with certain things. So I'm able to use both hands now,
Right.
depending on what I'm doing.
Gotcha.
So that was cool. But there's a lot of struggles. Like I tell people, people ask, well, what are your struggles? I was like, okay, well, button up your shirt. And oh, they do it. No, they're talking to me. Buckle your buckle. Put your belt on. So they put their belts on. We'll tie your shoes. It's like those are the three things that I have the hardest thing doing sometimes. I have to put my belt on my pants really before I put my belt on because it's hard for me to do it like that. To button my shirt, it's an obstacle depending on what kind of buttons I'm at. It's like
Okay.
it's a process. Tying my shoe too. It's just how my hands work now.
Okay.
So that
Wow.
was a stress growing up. I mean, not growing up from that point on because I was used to my old body of
Right.
being able just to do whatever. So now I'm having to learn how to do things with limitations behind them. That was a struggle for me. So I've always been hard on myself because of my body. But God has always shown himself in those situations of, look, I'm your strength, you know. I'll pull you through. And that's just God's voice reminding me when I start getting aggravated, like, because I would like hit things like when I couldn't do my buttons or like, oh, I just get so mad because the frustration behind it.
Right.
But it's gotten better. I've learned just accept and just keep moving forward. Accept and keep moving forward. You know, let's strengthen what's weak. Let's work through the challenges. I mean, if this is where I'm at, this is where I'm at. I got to accept that. You know, God has me where I'm at for a reason. So for after the surgery, I am where I'm at now. Limitations and weaknesses, but I'm still praising and worshiping the Lord as much as I can. You know, I thank God for the strength that He gave me to be able to get to where I'm at now. So moving past that part of my life, went back through school, graduated, did everything I had to do. Did not go to college. I decided to start working. So I started working with my stepfather. He had a business in construction, which was the easiest job for me to always go to because it was the family business. Just transitioned into it, and because of my limitations, he'd always put me in areas where he knew I could do what I could do, but I'd always push myself to do more. So I learned how to just be almost normal again.
Right.
Bags of cement, shoveling cement, whatever it was, like I was back in the mix again. I knew my limitations. I knew where I needed to stop at some point, but I do what I had to at that moment. So I worked with my stepdad for a lot of my life. But with that, I end up now, I was able to now support my drug habits. So from that point on, now I was making money, and now I'm able to support my drug habit. So from weed, it went to cocaine and drinking, just partying and having fun. I left my house at 18, moved out on my own, thought I was ready to be a man, an adult, what I thought was an adult. But partying every day and being broke by Monday was my idea of what an adult was.
Right.
Started living with my uncle, which is where my drug addiction really started kicking in hard. Got addicted to crack cocaine, started smoking crack. My uncle was the chef, so we get paid. He made a lot of money. I made a decent amount. Get together at the end of the night. Whatever that paycheck looked like was gone by the end of the night, or whatever that was. So my drug use started picking up a little bit more. Still continue working off and on with my stepdad. It was hard to keep a job with him sometimes. He'd fire me, hire me, just because of my drug addiction. Like I wouldn't go into work the next day, or I call in, or whatever that looked like. So life went on like that. I I finally left working with my stepdad because something that I always told myself when I was young, since I was so close to my grandma, was if it ever came time, I wanted to take care of my grandma. Like I wanted to be the one to take care of my grandma. So it came to a point where my grandma's providers were having a hard time staying with her because of my uncle. My uncle was very hard to deal with. He was also a drug addict. Both my uncles were both drug addicts, but they were heavy influences in my life. Growing up, I gravitated to them. My uncles loved me. I loved them. They were fun to be with. They partied. They let me get high with them. They let me drink with them. So,
Wow.
so being that my grandma couldn't hold a provider, I decided to go live with her to take care of her the best that I could. And then with that, we decided to call the company that she was getting providers for and ask to see if I could be an employee for them, so I could basically work for my grandma, get paid, and just live there, get paid. I mean,
Right.
it was a win-win situation, which fell through. Got a hold. It was Gurley Healthcare System, something like that. They got me in the payroll, and I was now taking care of my grandma full time and getting paid for it.
Wow.
My grandma was a diabetic, so she had needles. So at that point, I was still getting high, and it came to where I started hanging out with one of my dealers. He was a good friend of mine, and I was doing a lot of moving around for him, moving stuff and this and that. And I ended up getting caught with some drugs, and I ended up having to do a little jail sentence, very small. Coming out of that, caught with possession of a lot of drugs, and my mom not knowing nothing, it was a shock for her. And me having to call her in jail to explain to her what her son was doing, it was, the words out of her mouth was, "I'm disgusted with you." It's like, I don't even know who you are. And me and my mom are like this. Like, of course, we were together by ourselves for so long. And then growing up, it's just, I'm a mama's boy. Like, and I'm proud to say it, like, I am a mama's boy. I love my mom, and she was my backbone growing up. So calling her and her telling me that it did a number on me. And I just, like, she had been trying to get me to go to church before that. And we had done church back before my surgery. So I had got a little taste of Jesus, but never saved, none of that. But I get a little taste of what he was. Coming out of that, coming back out of jail, after that being locked up for a little bit, I finally started doing the church thing. All right, Mom, I'll go to church. But coming out, I had to leave from where I was at. So it bounced back a little bit. When I got caught moving those drugs, I was living with a friend. And then I transferred over to my grandma's house for a little while. and then I moved back with my stepdad. Sorry, then I went back to my grandma's. But in that point, I had to leave to my mom's from where I was at, moving all the drugs and all that because I was on probation now. I had to stay clean. So when I got on probation is when I moved with my grandma's because I needed to stay away from everything.
Right.
And I couldn't stay at home because they couldn't trust me no more. So that's when I transitioned with my grandma. Fast forward just a little bit. So now getting high on my grandma's, you know, doing cocaine, partying every once in a while. And then finally I started getting into the church thing. And then finally I got saved, gave it up. Like, you know what, I'm done. Quit smoking weed, quit drinking, quit doing cocaine.
Pause.
Okay.
Where did that happen? Like, was this like an encounter with God all of a sudden, or it was just like, you know what, I'm done, like you said?
So the church I was going to is Grace Baptist Temple. It's a Baptist church. When I started going to that church, a little bit after they had what was called a missions conference. So there were 3 pastors that came, one from Spain, one from Great Britain, and one from Italy. The one from Italy was the youngest of the 3 that came. They were the youngest couple. He wasn't too much older than me at that time. I think I was in my early 30s. He was already in his mid 30s. After the service, I was intrigued by him. I wanted to know more, you know, and so we start talking. We're out in the outside area, not in the sanctuary, but outside in the breezeway, it was called. We start talking, and he starts asking me questions, and I start telling him about myself, what I was going through at that point in my life. Had got locked up a little bit, caught with drugs, the whole thing with my mom, and just like, but that was really it wrecked me. My mom saying those words, like it really did a number on me. I did not want that in my life. I did not want my mom to see me like that, you know. And he asked me, he goes, "Are you saved?" And I'm like, "What is that?" Like, you know, he goes, have you given your life to Christ?" And I hadn't. And I was like, "Do you know what that means?" I'm like, "Well, you know," I'm telling him, I understand a little bit of it. So he starts talking to me about salvation, the gospel in a nutshell, you know, what Jesus did for me and what he will continue to do for me. And I broke. Like, I broke. Like, I was done. Like, from that point on, I did not want to have to do anything with my old life no more. So we go into sanctuary. I'm still crying it out, just like waterworks, just flowing. And he asked me, "Are you ready?" And I'm like, "Yes." I gave my life to Christ, 2011. Can't remember the exact month. I've written down somewhere. 2011. I remember the year though. Gave my life to Christ. Thought everything was going to be perfect from that point on. It was for about a year. Not perfect, but struggles. But I was staying the best that I could, clean with my grandma. Staying there with my grandma, taking care of her, focusing on her, doing what I could, you know. But I fell back into my flesh, my own desires. Started smoking weed again, a little bit here and there. And started getting high with the cocaine and this and that. And at that point, my uncle moved back in with my grandma. He had left. He came back. And this is where it took a turn for the worst. So when I would always get high with cocaine, my uncle would always get high together. And he'd like to shoot it up. And my grandma being a diabetic, well, she always had needles at hand at all times. Always clean needles around. And I was like, I don't do it like that, you know. So one night, couldn't find no cocaine. He goes, "Well, let's get some crystal meth." I'm like, "Yeah, I don't like that." I had tried it a couple of times, smoked it, snorted it back in the days, but just wasn't my thing. Wasn't like the cocaine that I liked. "Come on, you know, it's good, you know. Grandma got some needles. I even shoot you up a little bit." I'm like, "Yeah." Well, what does it feel like? And me, I used to love doing crack. I used to love that feeling. It was like, wow, like this is what I'm looking for. And then when he explained the high to me, he's like, "You know when you take that first hit off a rock, you know that rush you get? Imagine that rush, but it don't go away for hours. Sign me up." When we got to get, fixed it up. That was the end of it. From that point on, I didn't want anything else but a needle in my arm. So that's when I started getting hooked to meth. After that, the next 4 or 5 years were the worst. I started stealing from people, started using that addiction of stealing now to support my habit. So I had no boundaries. I'd go anywhere and do anything. Didn't matter who you were. If I knew you for a long time, if I knew you for a little bit, If I caught you slipping, I was gonna take from you, and I just didn't care. There was a lot of friends that I had growing up from high school that I could just open their door to their home and walk in like nothing. Like they saw me as another kid of theirs. I took advantage of that for a lot of people. So I go, hey, they let me in. I take what I could without them knowing, or hey, can I borrow some money? I get paid. And it was just however I could to get whatever. So it was just bridges being burned. And at that point, it's like, well, one bridge is gone. I guess, well, just go on to the next one. At that point, I had, like I said, I was no boundaries no more. I had no regard for anybody. It was all about me. Even with my grandma, like I lived to get high off with her needles. I took care of her whatever I could, and it was like paycheck, get high, and I did what I could for my grandma. My grandma knew, she found out, she was upset, but I was her grandkid, and she don't do it no more, and she loved me and this and that, and okay, grandma, I won't, but there I am still doing it. Being with my uncle there at the house, he was not a very good person to have around getting high with that. So it got to a point where I had to move out because it was just not safe there anymore with him. So I left, went out in the streets, living with friends. I even stayed on the street for a little while, living on the streets, just like wherever I could find a place to lay my head. Go to my dad's, take a shower, fall asleep there, go to my mom's, eat a meal. But they knew that something was wrong with me. I lost a lot of weight. I just did not look healthy. But I looked at myself and I thought I felt fine. I thought I was fine. You know, so when I left, I ended up getting into a relationship with a prostitute. It was an easy high. I didn't have to steal that much no more because she made her money and we got high, and that's how it worked. So I started staying with her. We were in and out of different motels, the motel scene, back and forth. Austin Highway was the stomping ground where we're at, up in the Northeast. So we're just from hotel to hotel staying. She did what she did. I just reaped the benefits of it. Every once in a while, I'd go steal some stuff, make a little extra cash just to eat. But she's the one that made the money for the drugs.
Wow.
So that's what my life was. It was just getting high. Anything I could to get high. Hanging out with people, getting into fights with friends, still getting high with them. It was just like, I turned into this person that I couldn't believe that I was. And I was watching myself become this person, but there was nothing I could do about it. Like I was just so far deep, like there was nothing I could do. So I just continued just getting high, continued living my life. There were nights where I'd be out in the streets walking, trying to find some more dope or just high out of my mind, just trying to stay busy and just walking. There were neighborhoods I should not have been in. Probably times I should have got killed, but I didn't. There are times I almost hurt people, almost too much because of my addiction, not realizing what I was doing. So I end up hooking up with this friend of my the girlfriend I was with at that time, the prostitute, and he liked to steal from Home Depot. That wasn't my scene because I had already got caught there a couple of times. Not at one in particular, but just Home Depot in general. And he's like, no, well, this is some fast money. We can make a lot this way. And I'm like, I don't know. He's like, look, I'll show you. So he started showing me his lick, and I'm like, oh, cool, okay, that's not too bad. Yeah, I think I can do that. That didn't last too long. I think it lasted about a month with him. I ended up getting locked up. Went into a Home Depot. We had already went to 3 other Home Depots and stole about close to $600 worth of merchandise. So the one that I went into was just to return everything. They give you a gift card, no receipt. You always get a gift card. Doesn't matter what. As long as they have that merchandise there at that store, they'll accept it and return it. And then we go sell the gift cards, whatever gift card it was for whatever, and they give you like 75% back cash, and they keep their 25%. So that was the deal. Go in the store, return everything, get out, go get our money, get a room for the night, go get some more drugs, do it all again the next day.
Wow.
But me, I wanted to go in that store and steal something. I was like, well, I'm in the store already, why not? So I go in the store, I steal some stuff, what I knew wouldn't go off with the alarms. And then right about to walk out, my girlfriend at that time liked to mess with cell phones. So I got her this little small screwdriver toolkit. Yeah, that way she could stay busy while she's high. Walking out the door, alarms go off. I'm like, man. The knives are in my pants too far for me to pull out. But that little toolkit was behind my back pocket. So I threw it. The door is supposed to be locked on me, but they open. but something stopped me from not running and just being obedient to them. Like, hey, we need you to come back in the store. I was like, all right, I'm good. I already got rid of what I know went off with the alarm. I need you to go to the other end of the store, get checked. Long story short, I get to the store. Alarms don't go off. I'm walking out. Loss prevention. I guess he was an off-duty cop. Was guarding that place that day. Comes at me, grabs me, and at that point, I was already high, and I was already out the store. I need to get away from this guy, and I just told him every which way. Look, dude, I just need you to let me go, bro, because I don't know who you are, and I do not want to hurt you. Nah, come with me. And so I had a knife on my pocket, and I told him, look, bro, if you don't let me go, I'm gonna pull my knife out on you. I had never done anything like that.
Wow.
And I'm like, look, let me go, because at this point, I don't care. No, no. So I pull my knife out of my pocket, and I pull it like if I opened it, and I went to swing at him. And I didn't open the knife, but in that motion, what was a theft turned into a felony because I exposed that blade. I didn't know this till I went to jail. So long story after that, shorten that little version. Put a scuffle with the cop guy, off-duty officer. I get locked up. I go to jail. Now it's finding out exactly the extent of this crime. First time I go to court, 10 years. That's the minimum. I'm like, what did I just do?
Wow.
And they even told me, you committed a theft. And because you decided to pull that knife out, it went from a simple Class B misdemeanor to the worst felony you can get.
Wow.
I'm like, wow. Aggravated robbery was what it was classified as. I did jail time for 3 months. I bonded out. I had gotten my income tax that year. So the girlfriend I was with got it for me, figured out a way. She knew Bell's bonds from her dad, got me out dirt cheap. So I was out.
Wow.
I paid my bond a little bit here and there till I just didn't want to pay no more. I went on the run. Went on the run for about a month, and I was all out. When I came out though from jail, since I had been saved, I got back into my faith. Like God just pulled me back in again.
Wow.
So I gravitated to the Word. I tried to surround myself with people that were that were in the Word. And in those 3 months that I was in there, that's all I did. I just read the Bible. I stayed good, stayed away from all the mess. And I came out with that same high, like, Jesus, yeah. And from one moment to the next, that changed. I won't go into that little bit of the story, but it was just like, it went from the Bible to drugs like that quick. Like there was no boundaries, and I thought there was. So
I think some people call it like whenever they go to jail, come to Jesus all of a sudden, but then when
It's a
you get
jailhouse
out,
religion.
right,
Yeah.
right. So wow,
yeah,
wow,
I come out, get back high again, whatever. I'm on the run for about a month. They caught up to me. U.S. Marshals come to the door at my girlfriend's parents' house, surrounded, and they brought me out with guns. Like, what? I just stole from my store, But I was on the run. Like, it was an aggravated robbery. The fact that I had threatened someone's life is like they needed to get me off the streets in their eyes. So I got locked up. Finally went through the whole jail process. I was in jail for 11 months before they finally came to a sentencing phase of what I was going to do. So I had already been on probation for 4 years because of my possession charge that I had got when I was doing some runs for friends. I was about to finish 4 years. Like I was literally a week away from 4 years. Only thing that was holding me back were fees. So they were going to extend me another year because of fees, which I was fine with at that point. Like,
right.
don't get in trouble, they said. I was like, all right.
Wow.
I picked up an aggravated robbery within that week. So there I am. Yeah. So I violated my probation. I picked up a new charge, and it was not looking good. So that whole time I was locked up for 11 months. Finally went to sentencing. The judge took the consideration that while I was on probation, I did do good. I only came out dirty once, but it was early on in my probation, and I stayed clean the rest of the time. I always reported on time. I was always where I needed to be. My payments weren't that good, but I made good lump sum payments in the beginning to where it looked okay, but I still owed a lot. But so he took all that into consideration. So what was 10-year max, they ended up giving me 5 years. He gave me half of it. I'm like, wow. And he's like, I should have really given you 10 years for what you did. And he even let me, like, why should I do this for you? And I explained to him. And he's like, well, let's hope you do. So I was sentenced to 5 years. That being an aggravated charge, you have to do a minimum of half of that. So I did 2.5 years in prison, 3 years total because I had to do another 6 months at a drug facility
Okay.
to come out. That whole prison process was it was life changing. Some people go to prison and come out and go right back in. For me, I found myself. Like I found who I was in God. I found my ministry of intercessory prayer through that prison process,
Wow.
and I found my calling. Like just like people are like, "Jailhouse religion." Like, no, this is my life. Like Jesus is my life now. This isn't like a religion or something I'm gonna do temporarily. Like He is my life now. Like He gave me new life again. So going back to when I got saved in 2011, I didn't understand salvation. I knew what it was now. I just didn't know what it was to walk in my salvation. I thought being saved was saved.
Okay.
Well, not understanding my salvation, I thought I lost it. So I rededicated myself to Christ. In county, actually, I got baptized in county. That's where I got a hold of my study Bibles, which I still have to this day, which was, that is my sharpest sword. Like that is the one I will go into battle with.
Wow.
It has all my notes, all my highlights, all my prayers, everything in there. All my walk through county, all my walk through prison, and even my walk through outside. Like I've had that Bible. And so getting that Bible helped a lot.
Wow.
Got to prison, and I got baptized twice, but I did it with two people to help them get baptized, to help them understand it. So I didn't really need to, but I did it with them. And doing these things with these men, like just helped me continue my growth with Christ. Humility. Like to be able to humble myself, to be with men at that level, but still like relate to them, and to pour love into them was awesome. Like I said, 3 years being locked up changed my life. Like that was it.
So was that a moment of where you said, okay, something's got to change, or was there somebody that may have caught your attention while you were in there?
No, no, no. I did not want to have to do anything with meth ever again.
Okay.
Like that disgusted me. Like being locked up and being clean for so long, and now being able, and God did this. He was able to turn me around to see my past, now from where I was at in my life,
Okay.
with the spiritual maturity that I was growing into, to really analyze my life, to see like, look where you were, not to put any shame or guilt on me, but to show me like, look where you were and look where you are now, kind of thing. I'm like, wow, like I was able to look back and see everything, like where I could have died or how I could have hurt people and all that. And I thank God that He pulled me out of that, because that's one thing that I asked Him for. Coming out of prison is like, I do not ever want to have anything to do with methamphetamines ever again. I don't want to have a desire to use it. I don't even ever want to be around it. I don't even want to be around people who use it. Like, to that extent, of course, my testimony shows elsewhere, because I do have to be around people sometimes to pour into them, not while they're using, but other addicts, and
But that's the strength of God
that
too.
is that is the strength of God, and He honored that. He honored that. Coming out, I never had not one craving, not one desire to ever use it again.
Wow.
It's amazing that God honored that, because that was the one thing that feared me the most, like to come out and want to get high again,
Wow.
because it was like I knew where it could take me. I knew where it could take me.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's just the power of just hearing everything that you said from stealing. And I was going to ask you this question. Did, was it just something that you just started doing, like minor things, or was somebody introducing that activity to you at
No,
that time? It
no,
was
it was
just,
something I just learned. It was just something I learned. It was something I learned that I was good at. For what I like stealing, I was like, I was able to do it,
wow.
like effortlessly. And I don't want to give no credit to that, because that was all no good. But it was like, man, I can get what I want. I have to pay for it. And like I said, after when I was exposed to that sexual abuse, I think I use it more as like another high, because I could, if I didn't want to buy it from me, I'll just get it for myself, I'll get it myself, and it was another high for me, and I like doing it. But later on, it just became something to support my drug habit. So it was like the devil was just priming me, like, let's test the waters. You get some gums, some pack of cards, now let's go bigger. You
Yes.
know, let's support this drug habit you got into. So yeah, it was, yeah.
It makes me think of where I have mentioned to certain people, it's like, okay, you're going to start with a little lizard. But if you don't deal with that thing while it's a lizard, you're going to have Godzilla at the
Oh
end.
yeah.
And it's going to overwhelm you. And whenever you were sharing about your, uh, well, escalating from cocaine all the way to meth, it's like you can hear how the enemy had a stronghold, like just total control. And it's like, man, he'll introduce you to God, but it's like you need to come over here though. And it's kind of like what is that? The carrot in front of the donkey,
Yeah.
where it's luring.
Yeah.
So it's like, wow, wow.
Yeah. I
So
always saw it as
amazing.
like Metallica and Master Puppets pulling your strings, because that's how I was. Like I was whatever devil wanted me to do, or you know, I don't want to give him credit. It was just whatever my desires were. It was all selfish, whatever it was. I gave into it. You know, it was just that easy.
And that's the way the enemy works, because he makes sure that it's nothing but idolatry that goes forth. And of course, the slogan or the statement goes like, an idle mind is the devil's workshop.
Yes.
So he likes to use that, hey, me, I, in which we hear that in, I believe, in Isaiah chapter 11, where the devil is so like, I can do this, I will be like that. And so if he can be in control of you or the next person that, you know, whoever's in the audience or whatever, then hey, he's got something. But in reality, you know, God was using the pastor from Italy or the minister from Italy and just sowing little nuggets. And that's what I try to remind people. It's always the little seeds, because even in that, it's like, the Bible says one plant, the other water, but God gets the increase.
Yeah.
And that's what he did.
Yeah.
That's so amazing.
Yeah. So one scare that I did have is it was just recently. So one of my uncles. So coming out of prison, I knew my uncles. I loved them. They're my family.
Right.
I'm called to love my family. That's just God has poured love into me to pour that same love in. But I can love with boundaries now, and I've learned that. So I kept them out of my life. They reached out to me. Hey, how you doing? I'm fine. You know, I appreciate it if you just kind of just leave me alone. I love you, but I don't want to have nothing to do with you. And one in particular, which is the one that used to live with my grandma off and on, he finally found me. I was working with my stepdad. Right now I'm working for Pepsi, but before I left to Pepsi, I was working with my stepdad again at the store that he has selling materials. And my uncle knew where to find me. He had already found me once when I got out of prison. So he knew where to go again. Well, he came around and showed up unexpectedly. He just popped out of nowhere and he caught me off guard. If not, I probably would have tried to dodge him. So I entertained him. Like, okay, what's up, Aaron? Hey, how's it going? You know, it's been a long time. And I could tell he was strung out. You know, I could tell had a car full of stolen stuff that he was just trying to sell. And kind of fast forward, he goes, what do you want? You can have whatever you want, you know, shirts or shorts, whatever your size. Looking at stuff, everything's too big, you know, I need a large. Well, look, here's something right here. So he gives me a Dallas Cowboy shirt and then a pair of, it's a hook, it's a, like fishing line, some shorts. It was nice, you know. I'm a Cowboys fan, so I was like, I'll take it. Whatever, it's free, you know. And as much as he stole from me over the years, I'll take it. And took it home, put the shirt in my closet, folded the shorts, put it in my drawer. Didn't think nothing of. It was 2 days after that. My uncle runs across me again at the store. He goes, hey, did you find my stuff? I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, did you find my stuff? I'm like, what do you mean your stuff? He goes, the stuff I left in the shorts. I'm like, there's nothing in the shorts, Aaron. Are you sure? I was like, yeah, I looked. Like, I didn't. But I'm like, it threw me for a loop. Like, no, he must have dropped it or something. Maybe he's just tripping, whatever.
Wow.
So I get home. Priscilla's not there. I'm already with my wife. We're married. I get home. I'm by myself. Nobody there to stop me. Nobody to say anything to me. And I go into this drawer. And my body is shaking. Like, please tell me there's not what I think is in there. As much as I've been trying to stay away from it. Sure enough, I go into the shorts. First pocket, I put my hand in. It's a little metal vial. And I knew what those vials were for because we used to use those. Sure enough, I open it up. There's methamphetamines in there. I'm like, wow. Like as much as I was trying to stay away from it, it found its way into my home without me even knowing.
Wow.
Like that's how sneaky the devil is.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I couldn't believe it. And right away, my mind started thinking about how I could get high. That quick. Like the things I could do. And I'm thinking, what am I thinking? Like, and right away, God just drowned it out with all the negatives, which was new to me because before it was like all the reasons why I should.
Mm-hmm.
And all the negatives were the last of my worries. Like I just subsided them with why, oh no, I'm going to get high. But no, God just like poured into like, no, don't do this. You know, the negative, this and that, all these negatives started popping into my head to where I was like, I can't. So I go to the restroom and I go to the toilet and I threw it in the drain. And when it hit the water, I'm like, like, why did I do that kind of feeling? But then at the same time, God, I knew he honored that, you know, because he saw my heart at that moment and he knew I didn't want to do it. But that devil was fighting. Like,
Yeah.
nothing would stop me from going to the store, buying a pipe and just getting high. You know, I didn't have no needles, but I could definitely do something else with that.
Yeah.
Nothing was stopping me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a wreck. I think for that whole week after that, I was a mess because of the fact that, one, how sneaky he was to get it like that into my home. And I was caught off guard. Like I was by myself with my own thoughts. And at that moment, I knew, like, as far as I was in my walk, that temptation is real still.
Mm-hmm.
And I thank God that he drowned it out with so much of that consequence and why he is what he is in my life,
Yes.
that I was like, oh, thank you, Lord. Like I cried. I was a mess. Like I called my wife and I didn't know how to deal with it. Like my emotions were everywhere because I wanted to get high. I didn't want to get high. I didn't want to throw away. I didn't want to throw away. Like it was like everything was going on at that one time.
Mm.
I just pray to God, I just thanked him because of what he honored when I asked him, please, Lord, please don't ever give me a desire to use this again. So we got to that point and I just, like, it was like, I felt like it was that, I don't ever think God puts those things in your life to test you.
Mm-hmm.
I know the devil uses them to tempt me,
Mm-hmm.
but God will always use something bad to turn it around for his glory.
Amen.
And it just gave God, like, how do I say it? It's made him shine that much more brighter in my life. You know, like that he was able to give me that strength at that moment when I was that weak again, almost, to give into it. And he's like, no, like you are a child of God, and I thank God for that because that drug is and was one of the worst things that ever happened to me. It is, I always tell people, it's like sorcerer's witchcraft. I've seen people who cook it and I've seen them before and during, and it's like night and day. Like they become this demon of a person while they're cooking it. Like it's like a whole a friend of mine that was a cook used to say he has to ask the meth gods before he can start cooking because they have to give him permission in order for the batch to come out good. Like that's how much it was into this stuff.
Wow.
And it was like, for me, it was like, okay, cool, whatever you gotta do, just make some.
Mm.
Yeah. But looking back now, looking at all that,
Wow.
it's just like that was by far one of the worst experiences in my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Prison was just the turning point. I didn't have to go back. I don't have to go back again.
Amen.
I don't have to go back to prison to learn my lesson. I learned the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. God is good, man.
All the time.
All the time.
Yes.
Y'all, I'm lost for words. I am lost for words. Brother Joe-Gabriel, man, I could sit right here and listen to all the details, man. I am soaking it in. Y'all, I know that some of us have gone through the same thing, if not one segment, if not another, because I know I can relate to, I know the sexual abuse, and so forth, and those type of traumas, or you can relate even to stealing or being a thief, or even to the point of, what was that you were talking about, from the drug addictions, how it elevates and how the enemy just tries to attack you. I just want to ask you, Joe-Gabriel, what would you tell the audience now that you have allowed God in your life and transformed your life? What would you tell the audience, about trying God?
Don't try, do. Like just do it, run with it. God will pour into you. God will honor every single one of his promises one way or another. On his timing, of course. We are a microwave society. We just want everything now. But God works in different ways. And I now see him not working slow, but working fast, because I know my growth from where I was to where I am now has been so fast, but yet so long in some people's eyes. If you find faith in Jesus, if you find Jesus, run with him, because he will run right there next to you. And he will keep up. Trust me. He will keep up.
Yes, he
You
will.
can't outrun Jesus. You can't,
That's
yeah.
right.
And wherever you go, decide to veer off, he's always going to be right there when you come back. You know, and he has shown that to me no matter what. The struggles are real, you know, but Jesus is that much more real.
Amen.
Jesus is that much more real.
Yep. Joe-Gabriel is married, y'all. He's not with the prostitute.
No.
You know, and we're
No.
not judging. We're not judging either. But I'm saying that to say, when you make up your mind to surrender to God, what God can do, and like you said, timing to God is totally different from man's timing. And that I've seen and know for myself that, like you said for yourself, that how God just did this. Then he speed up time, and then he bless you with a brand new baby girl.
And I never saw myself, I would have never thought in a million years in my drug addiction until now that I'd be in a prayer team as a prayer leader, leading men in a men's Bible study, being a father and married, and actually walking sober, like, and walking in my faith that strong. Like, those are things that I never thought would be possible in my life. I didn't even want to have kids, top it up. But here I am. God's like, well, I'm going to give you one that's that perfect that you're going to love the heck out of it.
Yeah.
And so it's like, all that just, it blows my mind. Like, I never thought in a million years that I'd be who I am right now. But I give him all the glory, because everything that I do it for him.
Amen.
Because he gave me that strength, and he gave me the capabilities and the opportunities to do it all.
Amen.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. Try Jesus. try him. Like he said, just do the thing.
Just do it.
And like I was sharing with someone recently, I was like, baby, just don't worry about. Pretty much, I think sometimes we have learned about salvation to the point of dotting every I and crossing every T, and it's like, no, just walk. Take steps, even if it's baby steps. It's just like changing your diet or changing this. You have to have a made up mind, yes, but at the same time, it's not going to always happen overnight. I mean, some people, God will just like take away the taste or take away whatever desires. That's true. But at the same time, as you're trying to say, God, to you, I give everything and I'm willing to surrender, then it's like, man, you see what God can do. And he does things so quickly, shedding off whatever mentally, naturally, whatever spiritually.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, God, I see that I wasn't operating for the kingdom of God. I was doing me. So it's like he brings forth all that balance, that godly balance. And he brings glory back to himself in a whole unique way, to where we see our worth and our value in him.
Amen.
Because I know that the word says, in him we live, move, and have our being. I want to thank you, Joe-Gabriel.
Thank you so
for
much.
sharing your testimony.
so
Boy, y'all better tune in. Y'all better put this one on repeat. I want to give all praises to God for our brother, Joe-Gabriel Rodriguez. Y'all, I thank God for what he's doing. I want y'all to tune in whenever we get ready. Hit that subscribe button, okay? Because we're going to come out with some more testimonies, but it's all for God to get the glory. None of us, but all of him, all right? So, hey, whenever you can, tune in to Courageous Talk. Again, this is your host, Dee Dee, and we'll see you next time. Stay tuned for the next one.